welcome back to Nerdly Out Loud, the official channel of nerdly.co.uk, your favourite British website for all of your news, reviews and exclusive interviews. I like to cover everything from the big budget to the low budget to the no budget, with a special keen interest on the lower end of the scale. And that's where my heart lives, it's where it lies, and that's what I'm doing today, because today, right, okay, I am one of those people that sometimes gets it wrong. Not all the time, but sometimes I get it wrong. But I'm also one of those people that likes to admit when I got it wrong and likes to put out there that, you know what, I didn't see this one coming. And this is one of those reviews that I did not see coming. Today I'm talking about Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmares, the latest addition to the Pooniverse, as they're calling it. I really do wish they would call it something other than that, because I think Poon, I don't think of Winnie the Pooh. But yeah, it's one of those Winnie the Pooh sort of, I've called them cash grab gimmick movies, and it is one of those types of movies. But this one, I believe very, very strongly, is a lot more than just that. I believe very, very strongly that this is one that actually does it right. Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmares, I went into this expecting absolutely nothing. I didn't really think we were going to get much from this. Maybe another schlocky kind of slasher like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 1 and 2. But that's not what we got. And I should have really thought about this, because we were told that it's going to be darker. It's going to be a lot more sinister. It's not going to be that cheesy slasher movie that you got last time. But, you know, curiosity got the better of me. And curiosity, as they say, killed the cat. But satisfaction brought it back. And this is what I got some actual satisfaction, and now I get to sit here, eat humble pie, and tell you that as a director and as a writer, Scott Chambers nailed this. Is it perfect? Is it going to get 5 out of 5? Probably not. We will get to that, but it did a lot of things absolutely right. Martin Portlock, we will talk about it in a quick hot second, but Martin Portlock, wow, what a role, what a revelation. This is exactly what I wanted when they first said that there was going to be a dark Peter Pan movie. This is exactly what I wanted to happen. It was sinister, it was creepy, it was committed, and it was absolutely on the money. I'm going to do what I normally do, but I will split it up a little bit, and that is that I like to talk about the plot a little bit with as little spoilers as humanly possible. Then I like to talk about the cast and the crew and everything that went on there, and then I like to talk about what I did and didn't like, and then I'll get into kind of my final rating. We start with Peter Pan having already become Peter Pan. Peter is already a bit messed up, a bit twisted, you know, he's sort of like in his 20s or 30s, and he's already in full swing, to the point where the town already kind of knows about Peter Pan. There's obviously murmurings of him, there's talkings of him, they know what he's done in the past, or at least they suspect that they know what he's done in the past. At the start of the movie we meet him, he's kind of like a fairground attraction, he works for the circus, and he ends up in this little kid's basement, and sort of comes up through the floor, and he's trying to talk to this kid. The kid's called James, and this is like one of his kidnapped victims. James's mum comes out and like intervenes, and there's like a little bit of back and forth, and she gets absolutely scalped. A nice little cameo for Kierston Wareing. Big fan of Kierston Wareing around here, especially on Nerdly. So that happens at the start of the movie, and by the way, this is the house that we're going to spend most of the rest of the movie in, as Peter's sort of like dungeon, lair, cave, whatever it is. So yeah, there's that at the start, and then we jump ahead and we meet the Darlings. Wendy's taking her brother to school, it's his birthday, and then when she's picking him up after school, she kind of gets distracted, he doesn't see her, so he takes the walk home. He takes a walk home on his bike, and while he's going through the forest, he bumps into Peter Pan and Peter's panel beater van, and that's where he's kidnapped, and the movie sort of really gets going proper, because then Wendy is sort of like feels really guilty. She wants to go out and try and save Michael because she needs to figure out where he is. She gets the phone call from Peter Pan to say, don't worry, he's going to Neverland, everything's okay, he's a happy boy now. And from there, it just turns into like a load of good kills, a load of like good stories and little things that we find out along the way. Like Peter lives with Tinkerbell, and it's this sort of like a coerced situation kind of thing. You really get the feeling that Tinkerbell, maybe while she maybe wants to be there now, she didn't want to in the first place. She injects herself with pixie dust, which is basically heroin, which I thought was a really bold kind of storyline to go down, working in this little thing that he's made her be there. It's a bit of a toxic relationship that she's living there. She doesn't fully understand or know, or doesn't really fully want to understand or know what going to Neverland actually means. He's kind of just pumping her with heroin to keep her on side. You know, I genuinely thought this was clever storytelling. Doesn't necessarily flesh it out completely and doesn't necessarily deal with it completely. It is a very surface level part of the story, but it's there for you to explore. It's there for you to think about. And it's not something I was expecting Scott Chambers to put in here. So when we got it, I was like, damn, this truly is a story of not just a twisted, maniacal psychopath, but this is a story of lost innocence, lost childhood. And when you put things like that into a movie like this, which everybody's going into as like, this is just some sort of like public domain, gimmicky horror movie, when you put things like this in there, it changes it, because all of a sudden we're thinking. We're not just watching and we're not just seeing the kills on screen and being blown away by what's going, but we are now thinking. It takes the Peter Pan story, which was already kind of twisted anyway, and it twists it to the nth degree, because this movie, let's be honest, Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 1 and 2 were definitely just straight up slashers. They tried to go somewhere with the second one, but what they tried to do with the second one, and for my money failed, they actually did with Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmares, and it worked. It adds levels. It takes the original J.M. Barrie story that we all know and love, that again was already kind of creepy, turns it up to that next level. But not only does it turn it up to that next level, you completely can understand. Now, don't get me wrong, we don't really get a Peter Pan backstory. He's already Peter Pan at this point. We get little hints. We get little suggestions pushed in certain directions about what could and couldn't be, but we don't really get a full origin. He's already Peter Pan. But with the addition of sort of the heroine sideline and the storyline with Tinkerbell and how he's sort of Stockholm syndroming her, we get a really keen sense of who and why Peter is doing all this. And then on top of that, we get awesome kills. Like, we do get awesome kills, and we'll talk about that in a second. There's not too much else to say about the plot other than, yes, he kidnaps Michael. Michael's going to be like our boy of the movie. Well, his sister is more so. Wendy is more so the protagonist of the movie, and she's going to come and try and find him, and then she's going to get injected into this whole world of who Peter Pan is, what Peter Pan is, and why Peter Pan is. It's not doing anything massively different. It's kind of like Black Phone. It's kind of like Nightmare on Elm Street. It's kind of like all those other awesome movies out there that we know and love. This movie does take a little bit from everything and then adds its own little twist with the whole Peter Pan lore. Doesn't dive necessarily too deep into the Peter Pan lore, but it does dive into it. So let's talk a little bit about our cast and crew, because what I will say is that while the story is very generic, it does get absolutely elevated by its cast, and the main person being Peter Pan himself, Martin Portlock. What an absolute revelation this actor is. I know I've seen him in other things, I've seen his name cropping up elsewhere, and that is fantastic, but in this movie, he is carrying it. He's doing all the heavy lifting, he's Peter Pan, so he kind of has to be. He's the titular character, but when we see him, he's sinister, he's dark, he's evil, he's charismatic, he's enigmatic. He kind of actually surprisingly relatable, which I was not expecting. And yeah, I can't really say that he did anything too wrong. When we first meet him, when he's trying to kidnap James at the start of the movie, he has this really kind of like Pennywise style voice. And maybe I'm just saying that because it came out not that long ago, but he is doing the softer spoken voice, like he, like he's being a child, like the child he never was, or the child he never could be, and the child he's always in his head going to be. So he's pulling that voice when he's trying to capture someone, or when he's trying to bait someone into his traps. But then when it comes time to like really get the action going and to really kidnap these kids, or to really do something dark and sinister, his voice fucking switches. And the switch in his voice is unbelievable, to the point where you're quite surprised that childlike voice comes out of this man. And he is a man, let's be honest, he is a man. But when he does the deep, dark, kind of Peter Pan voice, you will listen to me, like, it is almost theatrical, it is deep and dark, and I loved every second of it. But when you get that switch, it flips the movie. It goes from being what could essentially be a nice little cheesy slasher into, you know, David Fincher if he was doing horror. Next up, Kit Green as Tinkerbell absolutely is completely worth a mention. This character could very easily have been a silly character, you know, someone who just believes they are a fairy and wants to be a fairy and thinks they can fly. That could have been a very silly character. And when we first meet Tinkerbell, it is kind of a silly character. But when you start getting the meat and potatoes of the relationship Tinkerbell has with Peter Pan, that's when, like, you just start to feel sympathy. You start to feel pain for this person. You start to feel almost want them to survive and come through and get out of this situation. Tinkerbell is truly lost, and Peter Pan even says at one point in this movie, "You're nothing but a lost boy." That line kills. I don't know if it's meant to land the way it does. I pretty much believe it is meant to the way it lands, because you don't write something like that without it landing intentionally the way it's supposed to. And when it does land, it lands. And it's all to do with that relationship. So Kit Green and Martin Portlock, two phenomenal performances in this movie, and they do really good work, especially when you get to those scenes near the end. I don't want to do spoilers, but yeah, when everything falls apart, it truly falls apart, and you feel for both of these characters in that moment. Everybody will be sitting there saying, yeah, you're supposed to feel for Tinkerbell in that moment. I felt for both of these characters in completely different ways. Peter DeSouza as Michael Darling is serviceable. He's a child actor. You're always going to have a problem with child actors, because when he's watching something that is absolutely horrendously brutal, this child actor is sitting there as if he's not really watching it. Like, that was my only problem. He is brilliant in the film, and he does do all the bits he's supposed to do right. He gets it all right. I did thoroughly enjoy the character. I felt for the character. I was with the character. I wanted Wendy to save her brother. But yeah, as child actors go, he's up there. But there were still moments that I was just sitting there thinking, yeah, you can tell this kid's like a kid. And I guess that's what he's supposed to be. But if I was a kid and I'm seeing people getting ripped apart or skulls ripped open or whatnot, I would be freaking the fuck out. And this kid, I guess he's in a moment where he's trying to hide and trying to stay safe. But I'm just sitting there like, nah, man, I don't care. At that point, come get me. Kill me, bro. What's the worst you can do to me? Wendy Darling, Megan Placito. Totally brilliant. Really enjoyed this character. I have no real complaints. She doesn't get a massive great deal to work with, but what she's doing is serving the story. It's pushing it forward, because at the end of the day, the stars of this movie are meant to be Peter Pan and Tink. In my mind, that's where the stars of this movie are, and that's the way they're supposed to be. Everybody else is meant to service those characters. And Megan Placito as Wendy absolutely does that. But Hardy Youssef as Joey, which I thought this kid was brilliant. He really kind of brings something different to it. He's a little bit of the comic relief at the start of the movie, and then they sort of like write him out a little bit as it goes. But yeah, I kind of just got on board with this kid right from the get-go, to the point where when things happen to his family or when things happen to him, I felt genuinely bad for the kid. And again, I wanted him to get through it and be okay. Things I did and didn't like. So I'm going to talk about the kills a little bit. Some of the kills in this movie They went for practical effects, absolutely practical effects. There's a lot of blood, which is really cool. I will warn you on all of that kind of thing. But when we get the scalping at the start of the movie, which is right at the start of the movie, so I don't mind giving that little bit of a spoiler, but Kierston Wareing gets her scalp kind of ripped off. And to be perfectly honest, it made me feel icky as hell. So you've won there. We've got kills like the shopkeeper that he goes and gets the mask from, which we see in the trailers. So again, I don't really feel too bad about a spoiler on that. We get like a whole school bus worth of kids. I thought they dealt with that really classy. They could have easily done that slasher thing where they go in and like just rip, legs, arms, jeepers, creepers, that thing. But they didn't. It was a really classy moment that I thought was done really well. Again, Scott Chambers, while he leans into a lot of these kills and really goes for it with the story and the blood and the gore, he's also a very reserved director, which I really appreciate. I really do appreciate that. I've had digs at Scott in the past, especially with Blood and Honey 2, because he was the main star in that movie as well, and I just thought as Christopher Robin, quite a lackluster character. I didn't really think the movie was all that great anyway, and I would hope he would take those on the chin, because it's meant as, take this on board as what I'm saying. You don't have to. I mean to say these things in a way that will hopefully help. If you know what I mean. I know it sounds stupid, but so many times YouTubers, film critics or whatnot, they'll write something that is purely just to disparage and to rip someone's performances apart. That's not what I try to do. I really don't try to do that. I try to put it out there in a way that you can take it on board, and please, you don't have to listen, but it is somebody else putting something out there for you. This time around, the way he deals with some of these kills, the classy nature that I don't want to say classy sounds wanky, but the careful way that he deals with some of these kills, the careful way he's dealt with this story. Yes, there's problems, there's always going to be problems, there are issues, of course there are. No movie is 100% perfect, and you'll learn that as you go, but I'm quite convinced that this is possibly the best it could have been. This is the best way you could have went. This is absolutely what you needed to do with this movie. The scene with Tink and Peter Pan, I'm not going to say too much about it, but there is a scene with Tink and Peter Pan. It's on the kitchen floor. When you see it, you'll know it. This is quite a hard scene to watch in terms of performance and also what's happening. It is a really hard scene to watch because in this moment, and it's so hard to talk about without spoilers, but in this moment, I think some of the best writing is actually getting done. And it's so strange because there's not a lot of dialogue, but some of the things that Peter is saying to Tink, or some of the things that Tink is saying to Peter, it really rams this relationship home, and it rams home just about the entire message of the movie if you're willing to look past what's on the surface of what's happening. Some of the other things that I like, there are some really cool Easter eggs in there. You know, your Peter Pan lore gets dealt with quite a lot. You have Peter's shadow like bouncing around the room, antagonizing him. Well, the shadow in this movie I thought was done really well. I wasn't expecting to see it. When we see Michael being held captive in a room, he's watching some movies and they involve a crocodile eating people or eating animals. This is a really nice touch because what we come to find out is that there is someone in the basement, and they slow play that. They only show you a couple of times. This probably is a little bit of a spoiler, but remember the kid's name. I'm not going to repeat it. You'll have to go back and watch it. But remember the kid's name at the start of the movie that he tries to kidnap? Well, he might be in the basement and he might have something to do with the crocodile on the TVs and stuff, which I love that connection. It was a really, really cool connection. That maybe is a little bit of a spoiler, but it's fine. It's fine. I hope it's fine. I hope nobody minds. Joey, the young boy Joey, Michael's little friend, at one point he's wearing a t-shirt, which is a Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey t-shirt, which I think is them really trying to hammer home the retcon of the fact that the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey movie, the first one, in the second one, they kind of retcon it as if it was a movie in universe, but it did and also didn't happen. Or I talked about it in my last video about Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2. It was one of my main contrivances. But it's also quite cool to see that with young Joey wearing this t-shirt, you're really kind of leaning into the fact that it was a movie in universe. You know what I mean? I like the fact that they committed to that. And another connection was Wendy works in a hairdresser's, And at the start of the movie, she goes to the hairdressers, and one of her friends that works there, Mia, she mentions going glamping with some friends. Well, that actress and that character was in Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey too. See, people think that I come on and review these movies, and even if I talk shit about them, I don't really lean too much into what's actually going on in the movie, or I'm not too much about what's actually happening. But when I spot little things like that get carried over into the next movie, because of course I know this is a universe movie as well, so I'm looking for the connections. But when I spot little things like that, don't tell me that I didn't fully watch the movie, I didn't fully understand the movie, because that's something I spotted, and you can all just go to hell. By the way, go and watch Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. It's a vast damn sight better than the first one. I mean, it's not hard, but it's a damn sight better than the first one. And this one, Neverland Nightmares, is like 10 times better again. Like, I am kind of being swayed by this universe now. I don't want them to call it a Pooniverse, but I'm being swayed by it. They've got me by the short and curlies now. I really do want to see what's going to happen, and that's mostly to do with the way that this movie is done. That's something else I really liked. The tone of this movie, the style of this movie, the fact that they just ran with something completely different. This couldn't be any more different than those other two movies, and I loved that. If they want to keep doing that, like when this Bambi movie comes out, it can be, I don't know what this Bambi movie is going to be like. I really don't know. But when it comes out, if it's a completely different tone, happy days. One thing I will say, so Wendy breaks into Peter's house towards the tail end of the movie to go and try and save her brother. But before she gets there, her phone dies. Like, there's a literal story beat where her phone is being charged in Peter's kitchen on the side, and it starts to buzz, and that's how he realizes that there's somebody else in the house. Who does that? It's a very silly plot convenience. It didn't need to happen, and yeah. The aesthetic of the house, because when we first see the house at the start of the movie, remember this is the young kids and mum's house, so remember that's their house. What the set designers have done with the house, it looks great. It looks fantastic. It's exactly how I would have expected it to look for this movie. So I might as well just go into my final Nerdly Out Loud ratings, because I'm just kind of drivelling on a little bit, and some of this is quite incoherent. I do apologise if you've lasted this long and you think he's kind of just babbling on. But yeah, my final rating, I'm gonna stick a 4. Wow. That came out of nowhere, right? So I'm going to stick a 4 out of 5 on this movie. And that's because it's exponentially better. It's so much better than the other two movies that we've had so far. I think Scott Chambers has done a fantastic job with the script. I think he's done a great job with the style and the aesthetic, because remember, he's directed this, he's written this. So I really think he's done a fantastic job. And of course, producer Reese Waterfield, again, he's on board as well. This is a Jagged Edge Productions, but I think this is probably one of the better things that they've ever done. It genuinely did surprise me, and it kept me entertained all the way throughout. I really liked Martin Portlock's performance. I really liked Megan Placito's performance. I really liked the kills in this movie. They were gruesome when they needed to be gruesome, but they also kind of held back a little bit and didn't show everything. Like, there's one moment where he's just going around the house just executing people, just absolutely killing them, and you don't get to see them all straight away. You just hear noises through a different room and through the wall and everything like that. I really like that little touch. This is what I mean. Some really restrained, careful, considerate directing from Scott Chambers, which I wasn't fully expecting to see, which is why I keep mentioning it. People probably think I'm pandering or I'm being like, oh, patronising or whatever. It is nothing like that. It's a case of I genuinely couldn't believe this was the same people that did those other two movies. And again, the second one, not as bad as the first, but still a million miles away from where it could be. This movie, I think, is just about right, and it leaves enough room for us to do more, for us to get better, for us to just consistently get better with these movies. And I'm fully excited. I'm invested. I'm interested. I can't wait to see what comes next. If they let me down, that's on me. Shame on me. I'm giving this a 4 out of 5, but it's not like a 4 out of 5 as I would give Alien, like a 5 out of 5. Two completely different movies, two completely different budget levels, but for what these guys are working with in terms of budget and the constraints that they have, I am kind of on board again. They've won me back over with this movie. So yeah, it's a 4 out of 5 from me, and it's a very, very strong 4 out of 5 from me. Have they completely changed everything I've thought about this universe so far? Not really. I still think that first movie is a bag of dicks, and I still think the second movie is hell of a lot better than that first movie, but it's not quite where it could be yet. Maybe if they do Blood and Honey 3, we get there. Maybe. But this movie, Neverland Nightmares, is easily the best of the three so far. Yeah, it's amazing. Like, I genuinely didn't think when sitting down to watch that movie, I would come out of it and be like, that was brilliant. Flawless? No. Perfect? No. Brilliant? Fun? With a little bit of getting you think? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. 4 out of 5 from me. Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare. It's an absolute recommend. Check it out when you can. Please do check it out. I think you're going to love it. It's just fun on so many different levels, but then it's also scary, it's sinister, it's evil, it's a thriller, it's dark, and it gets under your skin. It really does get under your skin. I mean, some of those kills, I was sitting there recoiling in my chair, like, oh my God, like, I felt quite ill with one of them. Made me feel quite ill. Yeah, Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare, 4 out of 5 from me, Nerdly Out Loud, Kevin Halden. Please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe, and ding that notification bell. If this movie does win you over, come back and hit me in the comments and let me know how it won you over and why it won you over, or even why you weren't a big fan of the other ones, but now you're a big fan of this one. Please do hit me in the comments. It's where the conversation continues. It's where we talk a little bit more and we get into things a little bit more. And yeah, I will definitely be coming back with whatever these guys do next and letting you know what I think. Hopefully we just continue down this train of getting better and escalating and leveling up, because really that's all I ever ask of any director, any creator, anyone out there who's going through their career from start to finish. Just keep leveling up, getting better, because you can always learn something. And again, things I have said in the past and things I will probably say in the future, it isn't meant to bash your career. It isn't meant to bash you. It's meant to be, here's what I think, prove me wrong. You know what I mean? And you don't have to prove me wrong, but hopefully with your next movie when I sit down and watch it, because I always check out the next movie, hopefully you do prove me wrong and it's all good and we can move forward, and that's fantastic. But Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare, absolutely check it out. I think you'll love it. It's just good fun. Good for horror fans, good for dark horror fans, and good for people who like a little bit of messaging in their horror movies, which is something I really didn't think I was going to say.